This case occurred on Monday night, December 30th of 2013, about 9 o'clock. It occurred at 1499 John Everall Road, which is out in the Beaufort community in Lancaster County, and that is actually the residence of some of the Mahaffey family, and Corey and Timothy Mahaffey are friends of Mr. Crolley. Mr. Crolley apparently stayed with the Mahaffeys from time to time, and I think actually had access to a bedroom at that house when he was there with them. Your Honor, again, Sierra was Mr. Crolley's girlfriend, on again, off again. She was 18 years old at the time of her death. The day of the homicide, probably late afternoon, 5:30 or so, Mr. Crolley got one of the Mahaffey brothers in the Mahaffey brothers' truck to drive him to Ashley All's house to pick up Sierra Landry to bring her back to the Mahaffey house. At some point while Mr. Crolley was there before this homicide occurred, one of the Mahaffey brothers reported seeing that Mr. Crolley had a pistol in his pants pocket. Nothing occurred with the pistol other than Mr. Crolley had it at that time. About 9 o'clock that night, apparently Mr. Crolley and Sierra were not inside the house. There were other folks inside the house out there on John Everall Road, and about 9 o'clock, people inside the house told investigators they heard a pop and really thought nothing of it, looked outside, saw nothing, didn't do anything as a result of hearing that pop. Shortly after that, sometime between 9 and 9:30, Sheriff's Office got a call from the same Octavius Lee that pawned the items in the burglary, again a friend of Mr. Crolley. Octavius Lee told folks at the Sheriff's Office that Crolley had called him minutes before, and first actually had called Mr. Lee's phone. Mr. Lee and his girlfriend were at a store. The girlfriend, Whitney Brown, answered the phone. Mr. Crolley told Ms. Brown that he had killed Sierra and left her in Mahaffey's yard. That seemed really sort of outrageous for him to say, and they weren't real sure whether it was true or not. Mr. Lee got on the phone and called Mr. Crolley back and confirmed with Mr. Crolley what Mr. Crolley had told Ms. Brown. Mr. Crolley also, during this period of time, as you'll see in a minute, he's kind of on the run when he's making these phone calls, but he called his mom, Angie Green, told her essentially the same thing, that he had shot Sierra in the head at the Mahaffeys, and he needed a ride away from John Everall Road. His mother, of course, became upset that she got in her car to go find her son, became so emotional as she drove, she pulled off on the side of the road and never got to where he was and never picked him up. The Sheriff's Office, of course, took this information, determined exactly what house we were talking about out on John Everall Road, responded to the Mahaffey's house, found Sierra on the ground beside the house, on her back, face up, about 6 feet from the steps and the doorway into that room that Mr. Crolley used when he was at the Mahaffey's house. She was obviously injured and obviously deceased there on the scene. An autopsy determined that she died from laceration of the brain from an intermediate range single gunshot wound to her head. Your Honor, the bullet entered basically the tip of her nose just to the right and exited the back of her head. She died there at the scene. Sheriff's crime scene investigators searched extensively inside the house and outside the house. They found no gun there. They found no fired bullet there, or bullets, and they found no fired cartridge cases there. Mr. Crolley was taken to the Sheriff's Office, and I think the next day gave a recorded interview. He was not real talkative, but he did admit that he shot Ms. Landry, and I'll just quote some of my notes from listening to that interview. He admitted that he shot Sierra where her body was found. He said that he shot her once in the face or head. He said he ran because he had just killed Sierra, and he did not try to get her any help because he figured she was dead. He reported in that interview that he and Sierra had been together for about 2 years and had met at school. He said that the day of this event, or the night of this event, he and Sierra had argued. There was some discussion apparently by her about terminating the relationship with him, and at one point in the statement he indicated, and I'm quoting from my notes again, "She's not going to be with anybody else now." That's what he told investigators as they interviewed him about the shooting. Yeah.
My name is Angie Green. I am Tanner Crolley's mom. I just want to say that I'm not here to make excuses for Tanner's poor decisions, but I know my son is not the monster that everybody portrays him to be. He is remorseful, and I also know that he has to pay for his mistakes, but that doesn't mean he can't be a productive member of society one day. Tanner will do a lot of time, and I pray that he doesn't do one more day or one day less than what it will take to make him be a great man. Tanner is a good boy who just went down the wrong path, and we support him and love him, and we will embrace him the day that he gets to come home. And Tanner, even when we're apart, I will always be with you. I love you, son.
July 21st, 1995 was the most beautiful day of my life. It was the day my daughter was born, and I held her in my arms. And from that same day until the defendant murdered her and put a gun to her face and executed her, she brought a lot of joy and love to most of the people that she came in contact with. Christmas, he called constantly, threatening not only myself, my wife's parents, saying, if you don't let me talk to her, let me see her, I'm coming there. And I'm not even going to use the language that he used, but basically made so many threats that it was like, what do we do? Sierra was the type of person she loved a lot, and she tried to fix anything she could. I'm not going to lie and say that she wasn't in love with the defendant at one time. But when you get hit on so much, it does something to you, whether or not she tried and tried and it just didn't work. But she had had enough, and she was home, and she was safe. So he stalked her for weeks until finally he found his opportunity. You know, no, I had a lot to say, and I can't even, everything's coming from the heart. It's, all I have left is this little cross with her ashes in it. That's it, and it's not a fair trade for a lifetime of love that was brought for me and my family. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Landry.